In this video, we're going to look at two methods we can use for completing the square. We'll look at a straightforward enough example here, then we'll go into a slightly trickier example. After this, we'll show how this can be used and how it can be asked in Leaving Cert exam questions. And also I'll show you then how you can use this completing the square to prove our minus b formula as well. So let's get straight into it. The first thing we'll need is we will need a single x squared at the start. So our second example will not have a single x squared at the start, and I'll show you how we can deal with that. But from here, what we're going to do is as follows. So both methods will involve looking at half of the x coefficient, okay? So they're both very, very similar, but let's have a look. In the first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at half of the x coefficient, which will be minus 3. I'm going to look at squaring out x minus 3 squared. I'm choosing minus 3 because it's half of minus 6. Now, this line is not equal to the above line, so I've not put in an equal sign. This would be equal to x squared minus 3x minus 3x, which is minus 6x plus 9, okay? Now, this is a completed square, or a perfect square, I should say. So we need to try and get that perfect square into our original line. So this original line is then equal to, so we have x squared minus 6x. They match perfectly with this perfect square. We want a plus 9 here. So we don't have a plus 9, we have a plus 11. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a plus 9, and to counteract that or balance that off, we're going to put in a minus 9, and then we're going to keep our plus 11. So what this will do then is it will give us three terms at the start, which we know are then equal to x minus 3 squared, and then we can just put the two terms at the end together to give us plus 2, and this is our completed square. The second way is going to give us the same answer, but what we'll do with this one is it's probably a little bit quicker, but it takes a bit of memory in it as well. So basically what we can say is if you have a expression or equation which has a single x squared at the start, the completed square will always be x plus half the x coefficient, okay? So we can say half the x coefficient. Now, what way will that work? So if I call that b, so if I look at a general case of x squared plus bx plus c, okay, it will always be half the x coefficient squared, and then we would have to subtract half the x coefficient, which I'm calling half b. We'd have to subtract the square of that, and then we'll actually just have our plus c in the end. So you could, if you want to, like, learn off this formula, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. We can just apply it as follows. So what does that mean in this case? Well, we would have our above equation then as x. Now the sign will have to match, so we could have plus minus 3, but plus minus 3 is just minus 3. So it's x minus 3 squared because that's half our x coefficient. Then we must subtract half the x coefficient squared, and then we keep our number at the end. So we just end up with x minus 3 squared. That will be minus 9 plus 11, which will be then plus 2. So maybe a little bit quicker than the other method, but it does require a bit more memory of, we have to remember we add half the x coefficient or subtract depending on the sign and square, then subtract half the x coefficient squared and add on the constant at the end. Either method is fine. Now let's look at a slightly trickier one. So the reason this is going to be a little bit more difficult is because it starts with a 4x squared. So what we need to do with this is we need to take out 4 as a common factor. Now 4 does not go into these two, so what we're going to do with that is we just have to divide each of them by 4, and then we have the following, or 3 over 4, sorry. So that's what will happen if we take out 4 as a common factor. And we can't get rid of this 4 on the outside. We have to keep it there. Inside, we can complete the square here either way. So let's use the second method again to have another look at that. So what we do is x plus 1 over 8, because that's half the x coefficient, squared. Then we'd have minus 1 over 8 itself squared plus 3/4. So in this case, you would have 4 times x plus an eighth squared minus, that'll be 1 over 64. And I might as well change 3/4 into something over 64 as well, just to make these fractions easier to add together. So we would then have 4 times x plus an eighth squared plus 47 over 64. Now, pretty much done there, but there is one more line which we'll usually put in. We'll multiply our 4 by each of these things. So what that will then give us, equals on here, that will give us 4 times x plus an eighth squared. So we don't multiply that out, or that would undo creating the square. And then 4 times 47 over 64 is 47 over 16. So that is our completed square for the above expression. Now, you can use the first method, it would work out the exact same. Now, how can they ask this in an exam? So one way that they can ask it is they could say, write your equation in the form, say, a times x plus b squared plus c. So that's kind of an indirect way of asking you to complete the square. They could use the words completing the square either. And then there's a couple of other applications we can use from completing the square. So let's say if I take that above equation, 4x squared plus x plus 3. So 4x squared plus x plus 3. We're saying that that's equal to 4 times x plus 1 over 8 squared plus 47 over 16. Now, when we put something in the completed square form, this means you can then find the maximum or minimum of the curve. So it's a quadratic curve with a positive x squared. So it will be a U-shaped curve, okay? So a U-shaped curve will have a minimum point. Now, we obviously know maximum. So how would you find the minimum point? Well, we have to think about what squaring a number does. So if you square something, it's always positive. So if you're looking for a minimum, you want to make this as small as possible. Now, the smallest positive number, or non-negative number, I should really say, is 0. Okay, so the smallest this could possibly be would be 0. Now, if this needs to be 0, we can figure out our x value very, very easily. So the smallest this could possibly be would be when x is equal to minus 1 over 8, because that would give us 0 in here. And now the smallest can be when this is 0 would actually then just be the y value is just going to be equal to this number on the outside here. Because if you subbed in x is equal to minus 1 over 8, then your y value would be equal to 47 over 16. So we could then say that our point, our minimum value of this is minus 1/8 and 47 over 16. So that's one application of using the completed square. Now, we can obviously use calculus as well and differentiate to find a minimum value, which would be a little bit easier. But sometimes they ask to use the completed square to find this, or they might even link the two together in a question. Another thing they can ask you to do then would also be to solve the equation. So after you have gotten your completed square, so we have, I'll rewrite it again. So we have 4 times x plus 1/8 squared plus 47 over 16 equals 0. If you needed to solve this equation, okay, so quadratic, you could go back to the first instance and use your minus b formula, say. But what we can do here is we can isolate the x quite easily. So this would be equal to minus 47 over 16, bringing that across, divide everything by 4. So sorry, I should have squared there. You would have x plus an eighth squared equals minus, and then divide this by 4, you would have minus 47 over 64. Now, what we can do here is we'll have to take the square root. So you can say x plus an eighth is equal to, and if you're undoing a square, you must take plus or minus the square root of minus 47 over 64. Now, what you'll notice with this then is that's obviously square root of a negative number, which is not a real number. So this has no real roots on a side note. But what we can do with this then is we can find x, and we can say x is equal to minus 1/8 plus or minus the square root of minus 47 over 64. Now we could probably tidy that up a little bit more. This will involve a bit of complex numbers in it as well. So that is equal to minus 1/8 plus or minus the square root of 47 over 64 I. Okay, so it doesn't have any real roots, so that's to do with complex numbers. If you haven't done complex numbers, you don't really need to worry about that at the moment, but if you're preparing for exam, then you should hopefully know that as well. So that's how we can use it to solve an equation. We could also use it to prove an equation is always greater than 0, say for example, or greater than any number or a given number. So just come back up to find my original equation. So 4x squared plus x plus 3. So 4x squared plus x plus 3. So if we had to prove that 4x squared plus x plus 3 is always greater than 0, for example, that might be a hard thing to do or look like a hard thing to do. But once we've found our completed square, sorry, I need to go up and get that as well. So that's 4 times this. And then you would have plus. So if you were asked to prove that this equation is always greater than 0, we should be thinking that we want to complete a square. The reason we want to complete the square is we know a completed square is never negative. So what we have then is this is greater than or equal to 0 for any value of x because it's a square. And then also this is greater than 0. So when you have something greater than or equal to 0 and you add something greater than 0, your result must be greater than 0. So that's proven through completing the square as well. So I'd recommend having a look at the 2017 paper 1 question 1. That's a very nice question on completing the square. A little bit of tricky fractions at the start, but then it just asks kind of standard enough things to do with completing the square. The last thing I'm going to do on this video then is something which is a nice little proof that I haven't seen asked before in an exam, but it will be good for completing the square, for practice of completing the square, and also practice with working with fractions in algebra, and could be something that could potentially be asked. So we can actually prove our minus b formula using our completing the square method. So how would that work? So in general, we have a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So that is our general form of any quadratic equation. So we can actually solve this general quadratic equation using our completing the square method. So how would this work? What we need to do first is we always want to get a single x squared if we're completing the square. So we can take out a as a common factor. Now it's going to get a little bit messy with fractions, but hopefully we can get this to work out. So we would have the following. So divide each thing by a is equal to 0. Now, one nice thing as well is we're assuming a is a non-zero number. So you could actually divide both sides by a. Now, anything 0 divided by anything is just 0, provided it's a non-zero number. So we can actually just kind of drop the a there and be left with this, which is kind of nice. But what's a little bit messy is we still have to use our completing the square method. So we can say x plus half the x coefficient. So half of that is b over 2a. If you half b over a, you get b over 2a. So it's x plus b over 2a squared minus, then it's going to be the half the x coefficient squared plus c over a. Now, all looking a bit messy, but let's just persist with it and see where we get. So you have then x plus b over 2a squared. We're not going to square that out. Obviously, that will go backwards. Then if you square this, you would get b squared over 4a squared. What I'm going to do with the c over a, should have an equal 0 on that line, is I'm going to try and get a common factor, as in I'm going to try and get 4a squared on the bottom of that. So you'd have to multiply the bottom by 4a to get 4a squared. So then you must multiply the top by 4a and you get 4ac. Now let's leave our square alone for the moment and let's combine these two fractions that we have here. So what we can then say is this is x plus b over 2a squared minus, then let's write it as a single fraction, and you would have, so minus b squared. Now this is a plus 4ac, so if I put a minus at the front here, then that's going to have to be minus 4ac because minus minus is a plus. Now, we still have an equal 0. If we want to solve for x, let's bring that fraction over the other side and you get x plus b over 2a squared is equal to b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Now, one thing which is looking kind of good for us if we were doing this proof in exam is we do have a b squared minus 4ac, which is in our formula. Now, the rest doesn't look too good at the moment, but let's keep going with it and see how we get on. So we're going to take square root to get rid of the square. And we have to be careful that you must take plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. So that looks a little bit messy. However, when you take the square root of a fraction, you can just take the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom. So plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. So that looks quite good. The square root of 4a squared, well, that is actually a square because 2a all squared would be 4a squared. So we now have this. Now we did want to get x on its own. So to get x on its own, you would take the plus b over 2a and bring it across, become minus b over 2a. And then you have plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We now have a common factor, not a common factor, a common denominator of 2a. So x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that is the proof of our quadratic formula or our minus b formula. It's not something that's been asked before or anything, and I wouldn't go learning this off by heart, but it is good practice for working with completing the square and also working with just working with fractions in algebra in general. And if it did come up, you would have a little bit of a head start on it if you've seen it before. Okay, so I'm gonna post another video which will be a solution to that 2017 paper 1 question 1. So I'd advise to have a go at that question just for an example of how it can be asked in an exam. Thank you.